Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to season 2 of Scrum Call. In this season, we are diving deeper into the real world of Agile through engaging interviews, thought provoking articles, and insightful discussions. We are bringing you stories from Agile practitioners who have faced challenges, found solutions, and celebrated success. So, whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, tune in to learn, grow, and connect with a broader Agile community. You can find Scrum Call on all major podcast platforms and even on YouTube. So, with that, let's get started. Hello, and welcome, folks, to another episode of Scrum Call. This is the second season, and we are on a journey to chronicle the real world challenges, the real world, well, how do I say, information, knowledge, wisdom, what have you, about agile transformations. Even decades after agile, there are companies that still go through transformations. And along the way, whether you're an experienced scrum master or a new one, or someone new to agile or experienced in agile for that matter, you will come across a lot of things that we need to talk about. And that is what Scrum Call is committed to cover. Now, with that, we have guest features along the way. And today I have Satish. So, Satish, thank you so much for your time and welcome to the show.
Shishir, for having me on the show.
Pleasure, man. So, Satish, I think considering your experience and the wealth of information that you have with you, I think it is only fair that I hand it to you to introduce yourself because I know I won't be able to do justice to that. So, please tell us who you are, what's your experience like, and anything about yourself. Yeah.
Definitely. Thanks again. Once again, thanks for having me on the show, Shishir. I am Satish Kolla, based out of Hyderabad. Overall, 18 years of IT experience. Started as a QA automation analyst, then moved into different organizations and started with the Agile Journey as an Agile team member and got an opportunity to work as a Scrum Master, release train engineer, Agile coach, and right now I'm working as head of portfolio with IV as an organization based out of Hyderabad. So throughout this journey, the focus is to help the organizations, the teams, the leaders, and the stakeholders help improve their agile mindset, improve their way of working, and get that valuable benefit end of the implementation. That's the main intention or main motto. What me as an agilist focus on, rather than just bringing up a framework or a process or a strict guidelines, it won't help any point of time. So that's my motto. That's my way of working.
Thanks. So, I want to ask you one offbeat question. Okay. Tell us something about you that many people don't know, but they probably should.
Mhm. Many people don't know that I'm a very big introvert.
Ah,
I have really tough time having first initiation to start a conversation, especially with a new individual or anyone or anything. And
right.
me being in agilist role, you can understand how much of tough time or
I
challenge
know
I
where
have
you're
gone
coming from
through.
because I feel the
Because
same.
we have to take the lead, we have to take like the initiation, going
Hmm.
and talking to the stakeholders and everything. So lot of thought process will go through my mind before even I take that first step or having that conversation with anyone as such. But
Taking the
yes,
lead.
slowly,
Yeah.
eventually, I am still improving, a continuous learner
Yeah.
in that aspect. Yes, but better than my initial days of agile way of working.
I completely agree, man, because I'm not an extrovert, so to speak. But yeah, along the way, even I have sort of also improved because you said a very important thing, taking the lead, right? In the agile
Exactly.
world, especially if you're a scrum master, you have to take the lead because you're essentially the scrum master, right? You know the knowledge, you know the information, and you have to lead people along the way. So
That's true.
yeah, that's interesting. All right. So now kicking off with the topic for today, right? So uh, we have been discussing on this podcast with regards to the transformation into agile, the challenges, the pitfalls, how to make it effective, and all of that. But there is one important aspect that I want to cover today, and that is agile maturity assessment. Now, there could be many ways to go about it, but the point or the baseline objective. of the maturity assessment is that, hey, we have been doing this transformation for a while. How far have we come? Where are we today? How far have we come? Where else, or what is the next step? Like, so that's how I understand Agile Maturity Assessment. And that's how I use it as a tool to show the team a mirror, so to speak, so that they really understand that realistically, this is where we are. Because many times one might be in this, disillusion that, oh, we are pretty much, Agile and we are choosing Jira or Confluence and whatever. So, yeah, we have become Agile now. What else? But then sometimes it's important to help them understand that, guys, this is where you really stand. But this is where we need to head, and these are the behaviors we need to start getting into, right? And these are the different levels of maturity that we will reach. So from scale 0, where the mindset is still grappling with the change, to the whatever the ultimate scale could be, it could be 4 or 5. That is where the mindset changes into becoming an agile mindset, right? That's the way how, in my mind, agile maturity assessment is. So before we go into the depths of it, I want to take an understanding, or I want to see what is your understanding of this assessment. How do you see it?
Mhm. So the Agile Maturity Assessment, I consider is like a health check report. Right. So we as an individual, we feel like we are all healthy. We are doing all best practice, like going for a jog or a run or eating all healthy food and everything. But only when we go through a health check, we will get to know what's the ground reality, what's going on internal to our body or our thing, right? So
So
that's where like
true.
I consider that Agile Maturity Assessment as like a health check report, the way
Hmm.
how the doctors are recommending at least once a year we need to go through that health check for our better life. So I consider Agile Maturity Assessment as a similar thing. Right? So the team
Perfect.
or the leadership at the team might be assuming, hey, we are agile, we are following Zira, we are following a 2 week sprint, we are doing daily stand-up, so we are all agile. But that might be their assumption or their understanding or
So
their way
true.
of looking at things. Only when we look at the ground reality, we get to know that.
That is so
So to
true. Yeah,
get started,
that's a very good
yes.
analogy. Sorry, I cut you in between. Please complete.
Sure, sure. So to get started, I look at the different ways. If we ask the team, they'll say, we are perfect. No, that's one way, or that's their way. So it's like a saying, right? Your way versus my way versus the truth. So
Yeah, my way or
again,
the
we
highway.
as an agile expert, we as an agile expert, we can't say you have only if you follow all these practices, you are agile. No,
Hmm.
there might be midway, which might need or might work for that specific team based
Right.
on the context of the team. So that is where we need to strike out the balance and we need to start helping the team.
Makes sense. So, you know, as I'm thinking about the assessment now, there is usually what I've seen. There will be like a level 0, which is like very early nascent
Mhm.
stage, right? And then there'll be like a level 4 or a level 5. So,
Mhm.
how, like, if we were to consider that, okay, let's do an assessment, like, how early is too early? Should we do it at the very moment when the team has started their journey into Agile? Or should we do it, say, 6 months down the line? Or, like, in your experience, what has seemed to work really well for you?
So most of the cases, the leadership expect us to start the day one. We engage with the team because they say that, hey, we are engaging you as an agilist, so we want to measure the progress of you, not the team, like you, how you
Mm.
are helping the team improve their way of working. So we
Oh,
want
okay.
to get to know where the team is currently versus where the
Mm.
team, for example, it's a 6 months engagement. I
Right.
mean, if we take an example, right? So where the team is currently on the day one, you are starting your engagement versus where the team once you are moving out of that 6 months engagement. So for that, the leadership expect us to start with the maturity assessment on the day one of, or even before we start with that engagement. And
So
most
forming
of the
like a
cases,
baseline, forming like a baseline
yes,
essentially. Understood.
exactly, forming like a baseline. But
Mm.
most of the cases, what we observe is like the team might start giving the outcome, stating that, hey, we are at 2 or we are at 3 already. So
Right.
that like they are trying to bring in their what to say, the bias or point to say, hey, we are already
Yeah.
good, no need of you to interfere in the middle. So that way we need to again strike the balance and we need to see how we bring in our uh, experience or expertise to help the team improve their way of working, to make the team
Got it.
realize, boss, you are assuming you are at 2, but you are at 0, or you might have not even started. Just
Right.
having a 0 or 2 week sprint is not make you an agilist. So we
Right.
need to, the first couple of weeks or sprints might go in that back and forth conversations and
Correct.
interactions with the team.
Yeah. And that's an important thing you mentioned over there, where the team might assume that they are at a certain level, but they really are not. I'll give you one example, right? And this is a real world example I have experienced in one of my organizations. I was doing this assessment and we had just started. So, like you rightly said, sometimes we start kind of early to understand where the baseline is at, and then we sort of springboard from there, right? Now, in this case, it had been like about 2 months, and then we were doing the assessment. So the team said, "Hey, there was this point about daily stand-up." And one of the levels said that the daily stand up is for 15 minutes and not more. Any deep dive is done after 15 minutes, and the team follows the three important questions. So that is one of the things, and I think that was level 2 or something, if I remember correctly, level 1 to one of them. And the team rated themselves over there, saying that, hey, we are doing this. So I asked them, but you guys are not following the actual three questions properly, right? I mean, someone says something vague, someone follows it, and sometimes you guys tend to do the rabbit holing of, like deep diving in between. So how are we level 2? I don't think we are level 2. So think about it. I mean, I'm giving my perspective, but you have to think about it. And they're like, no, but our meetings for 15 minutes. The calendar is 15 minutes. I said, I agree. Yeah, it is 15 minutes. I only set it up. But how many times have we finished within 15 minutes? How often has that been
Exactly.
the case? And this is the team of 6 people. So it's not even a big team,
Mhm.
right? So that
Mhm.
is where sometimes these words, come into people's minds. They're like, yeah, we are doing this. So that's where, as a Scrum Master, I think it's important to realize that the mindset is not formed yet. People are still
That's true.
looking at what's in front of them, what's on the surface, and just running with it. Now, on that
Mm.
note, also want to bring up this important point. Many times, and I think this is a basic human nature. The moment you put the word assessment, people think,
Mhm.
oh, this is going to be like an exam kind of a thing, or I might be
Mhm.
judged, or the team might be judged. So they might try to artificially also inflate numbers. They might argue back saying that no, it's 15 minutes and all the story, right? So keeping that in mind, how do we ensure that the agile maturity assessment is not weaponized as a metric,
Mhm.
or it's not
Mhm.
weaponized to the point where they're like, see, the score is so less, you guys are not doing a good job. And the management sort of
Mhm.
takes that in a different direction. So, how have you sort of tackled this? Have you experienced this?
This come across multiple times, Shishir. Like either the team is with the wrong assumption, or the leadership might be the wrong assumption with the different level or different experience or the maturity perspective, right? That's where like we need to bring them, or we need to showcase them the ground reality of where they are currently. Again, when we say, they might not accept it, right? So we need to show them with the proof sort of thing. Again, not to
Right,
uh, showcase that we are doing correct. It is just for the betterment or benefit of the team. So,
right,
like as you are mentioning that daily stand-up exam, right? So we need to showcase, hey, yes, you scored yourself as like level 2 here, but this is what is happening, the ground reality. Within the 15 minutes, what's happening within the 15 minutes matters. It's not whether the meeting is scheduled for 15 minutes or not.
yeah,
So the moment we bring up that ground reality, they start assessing or they start understanding it. Of
Mm,
course, just by saying one time or twice, if the teams are improving, there is no job for us. So
right,
it will take its own effort to, and each team is unique. So there
Mm,
might be different ways to showcase them the ground reality, and
right,
especially when you go to the leadership, right? So
yeah,
they might be with a different assumption or different perspective. My team
Mm,
is following 2 weeks sprint. In one of my engagement, what happened is like the team is already agile as per them for the past
Right.
2 years.
Oh.
I was brought in into that engagement to help them with some of the implementation. Then I realized that everything is just on paper, namesake. Then when
Checklist.
we had that, just okay, yes, have the Jira dashboard, yes,
Mm.
have the 2 week sprint, yes, daily
Done.
stand up, yes, sprint planning, yes. But
We are
everything
agile.
they're following is waterfall way of working,
I know,
right?
my
So
God.
the moment I brought up that point, like that leader got frustrated, irritated. Hey, the reason I engage is entirely different. You're diverting, you're deviating,
Mm.
or you're trying to showcase your knowledge or your skill and everything. This is
Right.
not what I expected from you.
Ah.
So we need to take a different approach. We need to make him calm down. We
Mm.
involve him in a couple of meetings.
Right.
Then he realized, yes, this is what is happening. This is the
Mm.
ground reality, and the team definitely needs some help in the improving their way of working.
God.
Right.
And
So that is
and
where, like,
and sometimes even the leadership might probably need some level of coaching to help them understand that what does it mean to be agile. It's not like a checklist like you mentioned, right? It's not like, okay, yeah, we
exactly.
have done this three four things and they have become agile or something. And rightly
Mhm,
bringing them sometimes into one of these events or ceremonies
mhm,
tends to help, but it can also backfire because if the person or the leadership has influenced the team to act in that way, they might be thinking that they're
mhm,
doing what I told them. So what is the issue?
mhm.
You know? So
Yes.
how does that go about?
That I came across multiple times. See, uh, I mean, the similar team where I was associated with, they
Mhm.
don't have a dedicated agile coach or a scrum master. But
Right.
one of the team member is, I mean, they're taking rotations, playing the
Yeah.
role of a scrum master just for facilitating the events. So when I'm involved in one of the backlog refinement sessions, I realized that even before the product owner completes their story, the team started giving their estimates. I mean, okay, I mean, is the team really understood that story, or is it really good with the implementation and all those things? But during my after a couple of stories estimates, I found a trend. Everyone
Right.
is giving same story estimate. I was like, okay, something is fishy, something is
Mm.
wrong, something needs to be
Just because you
rectified
have to give
here.
a number, they have given a number.
Uh, that's more than that.
Oh.
They got instructions that for this story, this is the estimate you have to give it during the backlog refinement. So they
Ah.
are following what the instructions they got. So yes, they are good. So the team doesn't have an understanding of what the story estimate or
Right.
how they are doing it or why they're even involved. They're
Why to do
involved
it? Ah.
just because they had been asked to by their leader.
Mm.
And the estimates is coming from the leadership team
Right.
stating that yes, this is the budget approval we got. This is the story point. So you need to estimate these. These are the stories. These are the
Ah,
estimates.
understood. Okay, so it's tied to something
So
even higher beyond the team.
beyond it, right? So
Hmm.
again, they are following all the checklists like backlog refinement. Yes, story estimates. Yes,
Done.
everything
Done.
is there as on the paper. That is for the audit, and that is to showcase to their
Yeah.
client that yes, we are following agile. We are for all the process, the ceremonies,
Mm.
and everything. That is where, like, measured of the times, my experience, the maturity assessment is to be done to the leadership team than to the
Yeah.
teams. Because that is where the coaching needs to be done, or that helping the right mindset
Correct.
beyond the teams. Because most of the cases, whether we agree or not, it is still a top-down driven approach. The
Yeah.
agile implementation and the teams, and until unless they have a dedicated, strong, effective scrum master or coach,
Mm.
they're not uh, ready to even open up or bring up this as a concern to
Correct.
get these process gaps addressed.
So it's the heavy-handedness that sometimes tends to squash, you know.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
I can't tell you how often I have experienced this and how often I have seen this on various forums as well online, where that is a general complaint, you know. And at the end of the day, what would eventually happen is the Scrum Master is either replaced or removed because they are not
Mhm.
doing the the line, so to speak. So now,
That's
now coming over and shifting gears into a different direction. Now, let's say we have had a good, assessment, and we sort of understand which level the team is at. So,
right.
how, in your experience, have you used this assessment to drive further ceremonies or Kanban events to sort of, nudge the team towards that higher level of maturity? So,
Mhm.
what has worked in your experience?
So along with the assessment, the baseline version or baseline metrics or the information we get from the team, we need to do our own assessment, which is like giving our own rating, like from our
Yeah,
perspective, and see where we need to start helping the team improve their way of working. Right. So
understood.
most of the cases, even though we say the cross-functional team, the team will have all the required skill set, but they will start working individually in silos. So
Got it. Yeah.
bringing that cross-functional skill set or making sure the
T-shaped
team come
skill
out with
sets.
waterfall way of working, like first 8 days doing the coding and ninth day and
Yeah.
10th day doing the testing,
QA.
integration, deployment. That is where we need to start helping the team understand what's the importance, what's the relevance, or how it is going to help them. Forget about the organization or the other things, how it is
Yeah.
going to help
Begins
them
with
as
them.
a team to improve their way of working, to benefit them from the
Mm,
implementation perspective. That's where the team starts focusing on the coming out of their shell and
right.
start building their right skill set and the mindset.
Got
And
it.
along with this assessment, I prefer to have a team maturity metrics, not sorry, team no, team competency metrics,
Uh-huh.
where
Okay.
like the typical skill set required for the team
Mm.
versus what's the individual team members and where they are currently.
Skill
So
set mapping, I see.
this skill set mapping sort of thing,
Yeah.
team
Yeah.
competency metrics,
Mm.
where which helps the team and the leaders as well to analyze where the team is currently versus where the
Right.
team is 6 months or 1 year down the line.
Makes
Right.
sense.
So the moment we move the team into agile, the leaders expect that end of 2 weeks we have a shippable code. It
Yeah.
won't work that way.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Are we providing the required skill set, required training, required tools in the
Yeah.
infrastructure to the team? Without that, we can't expect. We shouldn't,
Correct.
to be frank.
And
So,
and even,
uh,
just to delve on that point of, 2 week sprint giving a shippable product, many people think that the entire software will be ready, or at least a huge
exactly.
chunk of the software will be ready. That's impossible. You're working on one aspect of it. I mean, look at the user stories you have pulled in, right? And then
Mhm, mhm.
the point is that even if it is maybe, just to take an example, right? Maybe it is something to sort a table, which is like a
Yes.
grid, right? If those
Mhm.
user stories are just alluding to the different ways of sorting, then by the end of 2 weeks, that sorting should work, right? And
Exactly.
of course, it
Mhm.
could probably be improved or whatever, but the point is that sorting functionality will be working. Is the full page 100% going to work? Not necessarily, unless that is what the team
Mhm.
committed to, right? So I think that is also
That's
one thing that tends to get held against the team in one way or the other. Perfect. You were saying something. Sorry, I wanted to just come into that, but yeah, please complete.
yeah, sure. So the team competency metrics helps the team to uh, come up with their learning path or
Yeah,
their improvement aspects, the training or the knowledge sharing or cross
learning plan.
training,
Yeah,
where they have to improve, where they are currently versus where they have to improve, where they want to improve as well.
right.
So that is another important role as a scrum master or as a coach. We need to take that ownership or accountability to help the team improve their way of working.
Makes sense. So that also, like you said, right? It gives a foundation to many other things
Mhm.
that you can actually use as a way to sort of drive that change, drive that maturity level, right? So, how often would you suggest that a Scrum Master should do this assessment? Is it like quarterly, yearly, or you know?
Once a quarter to start with might be like a good start. But
Hmm.
as the teams mature, as the teams progress, maybe once in 6 months should be sufficient. Again, based upon how much changes the team is going through. If the team is going through a change every now and then, when I say the team, that includes the product owner, the scrum master, or the team, or maybe the leadership, or the
Right.
direction from the organization. There might be multiple internal and external factors coming into contact. So if the team is going through a stable path, yes, maybe once a 6 months should be sufficient. But once a quarter is a good practice to at least to figure out or to
To start out
analyze, as
from.
we talk in the agile, like inspecting it up rather than
Correct.
waiting for 6 months or 1 year. It helps the team to quickly identify where they are falling out of track versus where they have to improve and
Makes
bring back
sense.
to the track.
Makes sense. Cool. I think this was a fairly good and condensed discussion on agile maturity. So before we close, is there any piece of advice that you would like to give to the leadership who are, uh, helping with the transformation, or to the team which is going through the transformation, or the Scrum Masters? So any important piece of advice that they should for sure be aware of?
One thing I just want to mention is like be ready to face the ground reality. When we say the assessment, like don't expect everything is like 100% green or 100% like true. What their assumption or their understanding is, we need to be ready to face the ground reality. Only then go ahead with the assessment. Like again, bringing back my initial example of that health check report, right? So the moment when we go to the doctor and if we get that health check report, everything is normal, yes, we'll be happy. But we shouldn't expect everything will be normal. Even if something is not within the levels or within the margins, we should be ready to work with the coaches or with the scrum masters and to see how we can improve the way of working. Otherwise, if you're just doing the assessment just for namesake or just for the audit or to showcase to the client, it will be bring the namesake information or namesake improvements. That's what I want to say, Shishir.
That's a very good point. And I'll just add to it by just saying this much, that as a leader, please from your end, stress it to the team by saying that regardless of what comes out as your maturity level, regardless of what comes through as an opportunity area, this is not going to affect your performance reviews. I think that's an
Exactly.
important
That's
thing.
another important aspect.
That's
Yes.
an important thing. Otherwise, the team will always try to inflate and argue and try to put something higher, which might seem great at that point of time, but in the long run, your team is basically just suffering and being mediocre. And as a leader, if you have put that expectation, then you're doing a disservice to yourself and your team, right? And as a Scrum Master, what I would say is, again, just assuming that you're in a silo at this moment for this example, just make it clear to the team that if they try to inflate the numbers or think about it unrealistically, again, you're not being honest to yourself, and you're just going to suffer with mediocre level of implementation, and you learn nothing. I mean, you might do this in this
That's
organization, but if you switch over to some other organization where they have reached a level of maturity and you sort of go over there, then your immaturity will reflect like a bulb. So be honest to yourself, be honest to your team, help yourself and the team. And as a team,
exactly.
I think I've already repeated this, so you know what best to do. Think individually, but act globally. Because a team is a collection of individuals. If at an individual level they don't ask themselves that, am I getting better or not? If they don't ask themselves this question, then the team as a whole also will never improve. So it starts with you, grows with everyone. So with that being said, Satish, thank you so much again for your time. And maybe in the future we'll get back once more. But this has been a good conversation, and I hope those of you who are looking at Agile Maturity Assessment, since it's Q4, so I'm sure there will be some people who will be thinking, okay, let's do this assessment and see where we stand. I hope this helps you. If there are questions you have or anything at all, drop us a note on the email or leave a comment on the video, and we would love to get back to you. So with that, we come to a close. This has been Scrum Call. There are no impediments. Alrighty, guys, that's all we had for today. And I thank you for joining us for yet another episode. We hope you learned something valuable and it ignited your passion for Agile. We truly appreciate your time. And if you enjoyed this episode, please consider the opportunity to join this fledgling community by becoming a subscriber and helping to spread the knowledge by liking and sharing this episode among your circles and even your Agile teams. Finally, to make it worth your time with us, I want you to know that your interaction is what keeps Scrum Call relevant and exciting. Leave us a comment or drop an email at scrumcall.feb17@gmail.com. That is scrumcall.f for father, E for egg, B for baby, and the numbers 17. scrumcall.feb17@gmail.com. Share your thoughts, your suggestions, or simply tell us what is it that you would like us to cover in future episodes. Until next time, remember, Agile is common sense in practice.